much, Ian. That was a wonderful song that you piped us up to, and I know Granddad would have loved this, and we feel honored that you're all here celebrating with us today. We know that Granddad has a beautiful lineage of people here today. Can everyone hear? Yeah? Okay.
Turn it up. Turn it up.
No, they can. Okay. So we just wanted to introduce ourselves and where we connect with Granddad. So first of all, my name is Sarah Hill. My husband is Jeremy, and we have one daughter, Georgia, great-granddaughter to the Duke. My father is Michael Ian Eastmere, married to Michelle Hunter. And my brother is Brennan Eastmere, married to Alexandra, and they have their daughter, Mackenzie. Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Johnstone. I'm daughter of Deborah Court and her with Clark Court. I'm here with my sisters Robin and Whitney and Jossie. Between us, there are 10 great-grandchildren for the Duke, 10th of which was born 3 days ago in the chair right here.
And first I'd like to remember Phil Eastmere, who passed in 1995, but we know that he is for sure here in spirit. My name is Chris Eastmere. I'm the son of Graham Eastmere, Donald Graham Eastmere, that is. He's married to Julie, and my sister Allie is here as well. And we'd also like to note that the Duke's sister Joan Pratt is here, as well as the extended Pratt family.
So we're going to be hearing from all of the Duke's children today, and wanted to introduce my father, Michael, the eldest child, to start things off.
Before Dad got married to Mom, he went to see a lawyer by the name of Doc Wickett in the Old Commerce Building at King and Bay. He was going to get advice on how to prepare the groomsman's speech for his wedding. Back then, there was an elevator operator, and Dad was probably a bit nervous because public speaking was not in his comfort zone. But he probably was very polite to the elevator operator. Doc Wickett gave Dad the following advice: never say from the sublime to the ridiculous. And never say that is a hard act to follow. Little did he know that approximately 65 years later, his son would say, "Dad, you were the hard act to follow." Dad's co-constructor of his wedding speech was Sandy McEwen, right over there on the island. He paddled over to McEwen Island for many evenings until the speech was perfect. And it was a magnificent success which melted the glacial disposition of his father-in-law, Lawrence W. Jackson. Dad had recently graduated from Trinity College with a degree majoring in arts and billiards at the Deek House Fraternity House in Toronto. He was working part-time at Ely's Clothiers for Men when the founder and principal shareholder of J.L. Graham & Sons walked into the store, and Dad selected some beautiful silk ties for him, the most expensive, of course, and Mr. Graham was impressed enough that he invited Dad to join J.L. Graham & Sons, a bond house, with his brother-in-law, John Noel Hughes, who was our Uncle Pudge, married to my mom's sister, to which Peter Hughes today is representing the family. Not long thereafter, none other than J. Gordon Pratt joined the firm as head of operations. Pudge was head of bond underwriting, Dad was head of bond sales, and Pratt was president and head of operations. The family dynasty was born. After graduating from Queen's University in 1979, I set sail for a 3-year career in public accounting, to which I was extremely ill-suited. Dad got me a job on the stock exchange floor as an order taker with the then Burgess Graham Securities after the bond house had merged with the Burgess Brothers stock firm, which was really a reverse takeover because the J.L. Graham people ran the firm. I had the great fortune of working with Dad for many years, and he was a fantastic mentor to me. He taught me how to make sure I told clients when their stock had taken off, quote unquote, like a blue-ass fly. He told me investing is always about more winners than losers. He occasionally said he was busier than a one-armed paper hanger. And he referred to those who had done well in business as long ball hitters. Dad, you were my longest ball hitter. I remember the occasional lunches we had in the library bar at the Royal York. I remember father and son weekends at the lake. On one occasion, we got into the sauce, the two of us, and forgot the sirloin steak on the barbecue. By the time we remembered it, it was charcoal and shoe leather. We ate it anyway. And howled with laughter when we looked in the mirror and saw our faces looking like we'd crawled out of a coal mine. Dad was my hero, and sometimes I didn't even know it. I followed him into the investment business. I tried to play golf as well as he did. I took up the pipes because Dad was a piper. I loved tennis because he built the Duke's Court. He loved Penn Lake, and I loved Penn Lake. I guess I'm a chip off the old block, but just a small chip off a great block. Luckily, in his last few years, I was able to tell him how grateful I was that he was my dad.
Thank you so much, Uncle Mike. I'm now going to bring up my mother, Debbie Court, to say a few words. Dad would be. Dad would be really pleased to see all of you here today at his most favorite place in the world. We knew it would be tough on many of his friends to make the trek up here, as I know that they've enjoyed many occasions here, and I know they're here in spirit. And thank you to all those who made the trip. Higher, okay, louder. Speak louder. My dad was a gentle, sweet man. I loved him very much, and I felt very loved by him. I remember the time when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5, and I told my dad that when I grew up I was going to marry him. And I don't remember what he said to me, but whatever he said, it felt just right. As kids, my brothers and I, we would run around the corner and wait at the bus stop for Dad to get off the bus after work. And we'd sometimes be there for an hour, 8 buses go by, and then Dad would step off that bus, and the wait was really worth it. We'd just see him, he'd see us, his eyes would light up, our eyes would light up, and we did the same thing here when he drove up here on Friday nights. My mom would let us go down the road and wait by the second gate there, and at that time you could see whether cars turned off on Maplehurst Drive. And every time a car turned right, we'd jump up and down, and then we'd wait to see if it was the car that would come around the corner, and Dad would be there, and he'd have treats for us, sunglasses or fishing rods or candy, but that wasn't the only reason why we were glad to see him. It made our weekends. Dad, he was my biggest fan. He would embarrass me to no end with his huge embellishments of my not so notable accomplishments. But he supported me in absolutely everything I wanted to do. He would get up at 5 in the morning and drive me to the Leaside Aquatic Club. And then he would make me peanut butter and jam toasted sandwiches and wrap them up in tin foil. That would irritate my mother. She didn't like to use tin foil. And then he would drive me to school. And then after swim meets, he'd take me to Hall's Dairy on Yonge Street for a lime float. And those were special times. I loved my alone time with Dad, and I know he loved his time with me too. Yeah, I just want to mention that the greatest gift he gave me was after I got married. I got a letter in the mail, and it was from the Toronto Golf Club, and it was a bill. And I had no idea I was a member of Toronto Golf Club. And I just thank my lucky stars that I was able to pay that out-of-town bill, and because it's given me a lot of great pleasure, and that was a great gift. Dad had a special social life and many wonderful friends, and I can't even begin to start to name you all, but some of you are here. But experiencing our parents' social life with their friends was an important part of our lives. And tuning into Ian White on the banjo and Liz on the guitar and Great White Capers, and watching Mom and Dad have, you know, tennis weekends here and things, that was really good for Mike and Phil and Graham and I to be a part of. I think they made us the social creatures that we are today. They'd be great hosts and hostess, and we watched, where was I? Hold on here. Yes, and I have to mention that at the end of hosting these weekends, my dad would be in the kitchen making his famous scrambled eggs, and John Foy wanted me to mention how fabulous they were. So Dad was always sending off his guests royally with his scrambled eggs, which we haven't quite been able to make as well as him. And I just want to say that Mike, Graham, and I are appreciative of the relationships that our dad created, Mom and Dad. The Norman Moffat family, their tolerance of our existence here creating Brigadoon brought so many hours of pleasure for all of us, and a lot of you Shaw's Road neighbors too, and Mom and Dad just loved that. Dad's happiest moments were on the tractor, mowing those fairways. And to all our other Penn Lake neighbors, you all helped create the special place that the shoreline is. And I do know that finally that Dad is resting peacefully right here, knowing that his legacy is living on, and that we're all gathered here.
Thank you, Aunt Deb, for those words. And now I'd call up my dad, Graham Eastmere, to say a few words.
I was going to ask if someone could go get me a drink. I'm getting a little parched, but I've got this bottle here that I'll just take a little sip of. It's called Old Duke. If I need it. Greetings, everybody. It's not that tall.
Better have another drink of Old Duke.
Okay. Sound check? Greetings, everybody. I know I should take my hat off for this, but the follicle is challenged. If the sun comes out, I might put it back on. I know our dad would be so proud to see this large gathering right here at his favorite spot. Like my sister and brother, we thank you for coming, and to those who have actually traveled quite a distance. My friend Paul Breeden brought Jack McMurtry from Toronto. That's a long trip for the day. And we know other folks have come from Collingwood and Toronto. So thank you very much for that. It's a real honor to see you all here. The past 18 months have been tough for so many people. It's nice to finally see a gathering where we're somewhat comfortable to get together. But these past months were especially tough for my dad. With 6 moves and countless isolations, it's no wonder it took a toll on him. He went from the Dunfield to the cottage, to the Chartwell in Huntsville, to the Balmoral in Collingwood, to the Berryview in Barrie, and to the Ferndale, Fairburn, in Huntsville. And each one of those moves and a few hospital falls all resulted in an isolation under the COVID requirements. So you add those 2 weeks up times 6 plus 3, it was about 3 months where he had to be alone, and we weren't allowed to visit him. The staff did amazing work to try and get us to talk to him on Facebook and over the phone and get messages through, and the visits that we weren't permitted to. But despite all of that, Dad kept a positive outlook. And that was him. He almost always looked on the bright side. For him, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. For him, the glass was never half empty. It was always half full, which is maybe why he'd go over and top it up a bit more. He was quick and generous to share in all that he loved, whether it be a friend, a sport like golf, tennis, a game like backgammon or bridge, or that martini. I think we learned this positive outlook from him, and this has led us to countless happy memories that we all share. Of course, many of those good times were right here at Penn Lake. This would be hallowed ground to him. He has left us such a rich legacy of love for family, friends, sport, and of course our beloved cottage here, Penrock. As mentioned, he built the Duke's Court right here in 1977, hosting many weekends of friends with the Moores, the Currys, the Breedens, the Thomases. The list goes on and on. I'm sorry if I've missed anybody. He later on went on to build Brigadoon with my mom, behind us here. That's why we've all got these Brigadoon shirts and uniforms we're wearing today. And that was started in 1996. He loved Penn Lake, and he never missed an opportunity to let us know that. He shared this love with our mother, who also chose this arbor for her resting place. Dad was generous in many ways. He knew well how to invest, as my brother Michael has attested to. One of his best investments was in 1951. He bought a single share that he could never sell, and it was purchased from a corporation known as the Osler Bluff Ski Club. Well, he could never sell that share, which cost him $100, and he had to borrow $50 from his dad. And I think he made a deal with Osler to pay $50 one year and $50 the next. That investment has paid off with dividends that have carried on, and they keep rolling in. We've enjoyed many years of camaraderie and sport amongst the Eastmere and Pratt families and all of our other Osler friends. I've said in the past how a run down Snow Ridge always reminds me of my mother. Well, it's not hard to take a run down the Rattler without thinking of the Duke. One of his favorite sayings was, "Let's go rattle down the Rattler." Countless weekends were spent heading to Collingwood. We'd leave Saturday morning early with a full car. Picture mom, dad, 4 kids, the family dog, packed into the station wagon. We'd stay at the Pleasant Manor on Highway 26. Just one night, there was not a budget for 2. It was pretty tight quarters. You didn't want to brush your teeth because the water smelled so bad. And actually, come to think of it, the air smelled pretty foul too. Usually our dog Tori got the blame for that. In the morning, there'd be a sibling battle over the cereal train. People wanted Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Corn Pops. Nobody really wanted the Pep or the All Bran. I don't recall Dad ever saying which one he wanted. He just stayed the course, got us all bundled up together, and back out onto that hill. Dad followed in his father's footsteps by maintaining a membership at the Rosedale Golf Club, where he served as the captain. He'd be proud to know that somehow the men's league team that Mike and I are in is currently in first place. Dad, please don't say I've jinxed us on that. It's also kind of a wonder because most of the golfing genes went to my sister here. Dad was always open to supporting his children, whether it be in his career, Mike, with wealth management, or helping Deb and Clark secure a cottage property because they put in a good word with the neighbors. And Dad really wanted them to be able to be next door, which has been just a spectacular legacy for our family. We have so much luck to have such great neighbors and family right here with the Eastmeres and the Pratts and the Courts. Just last night, we had yet another epic chimenea evening. I think there was probably 25 or 30 people gathered around the fire. Mike was playing the guitar. And of course, shenanigans ensued, and what my dad would say was either a monumental screw-up or an unmitigated disaster unfolded when my daughter Allie, my step-niece Robin, I think, one cousin Jeff Pratt, one dog Luna, attempted to get into the junior Alouette canoe meant for no more than 2 people. They made it about 4 feet off the dock before it overturned. But back to Dad, he certainly was one to support all of us in our endeavors. And I also mentioned his purchase of the Stardust Cafe and Le Souffle restaurant that was not his wheelhouse, going into the restaurant business, especially in the ensuing depression of the 80s. But he bought that place, and it was a great, great experience. For me, just about any venture I thought would be a good idea, he would support. Dad never raised a hand to any of us. He could subtly communicate his concerns and move on. Subtly usually didn't mean verbal, it was some other way. I remember the night that my friend Todd Garrett called. He was coming here to Penn Lake to see me, but didn't know how to get here. So he arrived at Deerhurst, found a payphone, called here collect. I came home after a boat night with some friends to see a note on the table that said, Todd phoned, collect, 1:03 a.m. Woke us up. He's at Deerhurst. After I just put the boat quietly away so that I wouldn't wake up Joan and Gord, I had to go get it out and go across to Deerhurst and get Todd. Of course, the next morning, that translated into a knock on the bedroom door far earlier than we wanted to get up with, boys, 5 loads of gravel before breakfast. But when we did get breakfast, it was like Deb said, a sumpy, which was short for sumptuous, with Dad's scrambled eggs. Cottage work weekends ensued after that. Dad knew that many hands, a few beers and a nice steak equaled stained cabin, or boathouse leveled. It was during these times, and with his help, that I learned to be handy. I think Mike was off at Queen's taking commerce, and Deb was at university, so they kind of skipped that chapter. Dad welcomed everyone to the cottage and became a great friend to many of our friends. They all came to admire his personality and all that he offered. They came to know him as the Duke more than Mr. Eastmere. And 2 of them even found this bottle here. So maybe I shouldn't take a sip, because that was probably about 40 years ago. Dad had patience for our teenage shenanigans, and as my friend Matt Turner said, they lasted well into our 30s. Dad would always make room at the table for anyone that wanted to or had shown up. He encouraged many big regatta weekends where he would barbecue a Fred Flintstone-style steak, and Mom would present her raspberry crisp. Then we'd be off to the annual square dance. As Dad would say, we took off faster than the blue-ass fly. None of us knew what a blue-ass fly was, and I don't think any of us ever seen one. Dad did have a few other interesting sayings. Squeaky floorboard. He would mention that after you heard some kind of strange noise. Basically, what he was saying was pre-COVID messaging to social distance or head for fresh air. Or he would say things were reduced for quick sale, which was where Mom would come home with something perhaps questionable from the sale floor. Or when Mom would ask, Dad, what would you like for dessert? He would say, oh dear, I would really love some peach plumage. Well, I've Googled it. There's no such thing as peach plumage. None of us ever had it. None of us never knew what it was. But speaking about Mom, no speech about Dad would be complete without talking about her. She was his greatest love, and he was hers. They had a remarkable marriage. 60 years is pretty good evidence of that. He had a pretty good run from early on. Somehow, they had this arrangement where he'd tie a string to his toe and dangle it from his bedroom window. Then, whilst sleeping peacefully at night, Mom would drive over, tug on the string, and he would sneak out for a late-night date. They lived in harmony. We never heard them squabble. The harshest discussion may have been something like, "With all due respect, dear," but it would end with, "You're probably right." Dad missed her so much over the past 5 years. I mentioned at the beginning of my speech that he did six moves this year, but I suppose his latest one is really the 7th, and that puts him in heaven, right next to Essie. I'm betting she greeted him with a double bone-dry martini, complete with an extra olive. And to that, he'd say, "You got that right." Well, Dad, we all love you, we thank you, and for a life well lived, we say, you too got that right. Thank you.
We're now going to close out the ceremony, hear a rendition of Amazing Grace from Ian and Mike.
So I brought my flask of scotch. It's a family tradition. When we laid my father to rest, Ian, we sprinkled some scotch on Bruce Trail where he's resting, along with my Uncle Russell, where he's resting in Mount Pleasant. A little bit of scotch, and Uncle Donnie, I know, will enjoy some of this too. Not all of it, though.